back with another car video. First video of the new month, first video of March. It's cold as hell, so I have my coat on and I have my coffee here. This video is gonna be on rebranding. Somebody said like faux rebranding, so faux rebranding or rebranding. And this video was kind of inspired and requested based on some tweets that I put out yesterday. So I saw this tweet that was like going around where somebody was like, oh, Donald Glover is like the fucking Houdini of escaping accountability. They were like, does anybody realize that this man has like deleted like all his like previous like fucked up tweets, videos, like everything, and has like rebranded himself as like a woketivist, like doing all this shit like for the culture without like ever having to like take accountability and responsibility for some of like the fucked up things that he's like said and done in the past. And somebody was like, oh, like what do you mean? And they posted this link to this account, this Tumblr account called Your Fave is Problematic. You guys have probably seen this account, but if you haven't seen it, basically it's an account where they just like post all the fucked up things that celebrities say and do, and they do like screenshots, so even if it's like deleted, it's like still there. It's basically like an archive of like the fucked up things that like celebrities say and do. And Donald Glover has like done a lot of fucked up shit. Like the way that I haven't heard of Donald Glover, like way back when in like 2003 when I was like a fucking teenager, was like he had this YouTube video, and I'm sure you cannot find this video anymore. Like y'all probably like really dig to try to find this video. He had this whole skit that was called Bro Rape. I'm not gonna lie, like the skit was pretty fucking funny, but like around that time, that's how like all the humor was like jackass, a lot of like jackass like rape culture type of humor, the type of humor that like really would not fly today in 2018, right? And Donald Glover did a lot of that type of fucking comedy. A lot of his like jokes in his stand-up special were about like making fun of black women and like putting down black women and like talking really, really bad about black women. And he also had this like fetish for like East Asian girls, this like weird like racial like fetishization of like East Asian girls. Like Donald Glover has like said and done a lot of like fucked up shit over the course of his career. But like once he like got to a certain point, I would say probably like Community was maybe like when he started realizing he was getting like too famous for that shit, and he just like deleted everything, right? And so one of his like fans was like, well, can't he have like grown and changed as a person? They were like, Twitter is like the only place where people can like bring up like your tweets from like 10 years ago and like your actions from like 10 years ago as like proof that you're a bad person. So what I said, because I was like watching the conversation, I thought it was like a really interesting conversation. So what I said, I was like, you know, this is my thing about rebranding. I was like, my thing is, I do think that like Twitter and like the internet in general has like created this like really weird call out culture where people are not allowed to grow, people are not allowed to change. There is, you know, the internet never forgets. Like even if you delete it, like yes, there's always going to be screenshots, there's always going to be re-uploads of videos. Like I mean, you guys might be able to find the bro rape shit, but you know, the internet just never forgets. Like once something is out there on the internet, you kind of have to assume that it's out there forever, right? So it is true that we have this like call out culture where tweets from 10 years ago, where you know, content from like years ago can be used as like proof that someone is a bad person. We don't like really acknowledge that people can change and grow. That's true. However, this is my issue. You have people like Donald Glover, you have people like, I used Pharrell as an example with his whole statement about new blacks. You know, the new black doesn't acknowledge racism, the new black doesn't fucking see racism, the new black, you know, doesn't let racism hold them back. You know, they don't believe in racism. Like just like wild shit. Like, you know, like, okay, obviously like you've been rich and famous for like too long, you've forgotten how like the real world works for like regular niggers. Common, who went on Jon Stewart. I did a whole video on this. Common, who went on Jon Stewart. He went on The Daily Show when, like, Jon Stewart was still the host. And was like, the real cause of racism is, like, black people not being able to extend a hand in love to whites. And, he described black people's relationship with white people, and especially black people, black Americans' relationship with, like, America, white America, as, like, an abusive relationship. He's like, but then, like, he, like, took it, like, way left. Like, like, you're in a bad relationship where, like, some bad things have happened, but, like, at a certain point, one person has to be like, baby, like, I forgive you, like, I move on. I was like, you don't have to forgive somebody that keeps, like, whooping your ass and trying to, like, keep you fucking down in the dirt. And even Jon Stewart was trying to, like, throw Common a bone, like, yeah, but, like, white people could do some reaching out too, white people could do some work too. And Common was sitting up there on The Daily Show like a whole motherfucking Uncle Ruckus, talk about, like, no, like, it needs to be, like, the niggas doing the work to, like, extend a hand in love to white people. And fucking Kendrick Lamar, who you guys know I have an issue with, we did a whole Billboard interview talking about, like, oh, what happened to Mike Brown never should have happened, but he didn't respect himself, so, like, how could he expect a cop to respect him? And, like, change has to come from within. Like, no, smart, dumb nigga. Like, change has to come from recognizing we live in a racist, white supremacist society that unfairly targets black youth based on the color of their skin, not whether or not they respect themselves. There's plenty of niggas that respect themselves that be out in suits and ties. What's the name of the fucking kid that was, like, the school president, and he was, like, in a suit and a tie, and they cracked his motherfucking head open? Like, I'm pretty sure he fucking respected himself. Like, respectability politics ass niggas. But then you have people that, number one, I feel like 2014, 2015, you have a lot of people that weren't exactly sure, like, where this black movement was, like, gonna go. So I think they tried to, like, get ahead of it by, like, being on the side of, like, white people. They thought it was gonna, like, fizzle out, right? But then once it didn't fizzle out and it just kind of kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you have a lot of people that have, like, tried to, like, rebrand themselves without acknowledging that they, like, fucked up in the past. And I was like, listen, everybody can grow and change. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Everybody's on a path of learning and unlearning. But I think that it's fucked up to try and rebrand yourself without acknowledging the mistakes that you've made in the past, acknowledging publicly that you have, learned and grown. You publicly made those mistakes. You should publicly, and if you're a public figure, because we're talking about public figures, and even, like, regular people too, like, people have a real issue with, like, saying, I fucked up, I made a mistake, I apologize. They would rather try to, like, deny that it ever happened, pretend it never happened, or again, like, delete all the fucking evidence and then try to, like, rebrand. And I've noticed a lot of, like, rebranding going on right now. I don't want to, like, name any names because I don't want it to seem like I'm picking on anybody, but I've, like, noticed, especially, like, on, like, YouTube and on, like, Instagram and stuff like that, people, like, a lot of, like, name changes, a lot of, like, content changes and things like that. And a lot of that is also from people that have, like, fucked up. And I think it's important to acknowledge when you fuck up, because, like, that's how you learn. That's how people learn. That's how people grow. That's how, that's how you kind of lead by an example, because, like, everybody fucks up. And again, like, we live in this, like, culture now that it's all about, like, being perfect and, like, not making mistakes and again, like, not being accountable. And I feel like people want to rebrand and be given the benefit of the doubt without acknowledging or apologizing for what they've done. And that's that shit I don't like. If you're growing and changing, like, growth is a good thing. Like, say, like, yeah, I'm fucking Donald Glover. Like, yeah, like, previously I did have some, like, really fucked up jokes that were, like, at the expense of black women and that, like, fetishized East Asian girls. But, I learned from that. That's not a part of my comedy anymore, and now I want to do comedy that's, like, more powerful and, like, uplifting for black people. I feel like that would be awesome, but instead you want to just, like, delete everything, pretend it never happened, never take responsibility for the things that you said or did, never publicly acknowledge or apologize for it, but then you want to, like, get up and accept the awards and be like, yeah, this is for the culture. Well, like, number one, the culture doesn't even exist without the black women that, like, you essentially made a whole career off the backs of shitting on us, like, early in your career. Like, it's and I do think it's, like, emblematic of, like, a larger issue with like not people just not wanting to fucking acknowledge that they did anything wrong. And then when you start getting into like fandom and fucking standom, these people like worship these celebrities, like they think these people are perfect, they think they're above critique, they think that you can't say nothing about them because they like love their fucking content so much. And it's like, no, having too many yes people around you, having people all the time around you, they say yes, you're amazing, you're wonderful, you're perfect, again, that stagnates growth. Like, you have to be able to grow and like hold yourself accountable. You can't just rebrand every single time you fuck up. Like, oh, I'm just gonna delete this shit and rebrand and like call myself something else and like change my content to something else. Like, you have girls on Instagram that like last week they were selling fucking, they were like giving out advice. This week they like selling fucking tummy tea. Next week they're gonna be selling fucking crystals and like chakra fucking energy oil. And to me, that's like some snake oil salesman type shit. Like, even if you're gonna like have a brand where you're like where you do it all, like you don't have to keep rebranding. You could like be honest, you could like be real. And something that I also wanted to say about this whole topic is, this also reminds me of Monique, because when we were talking about it on Twitter, somebody was like, it's only even certain types of people that even get the opportunity to fucking rebrand in that way. And of course it made me think of Monique, because with this whole like Monique situation, Monique is talking about how like black women and especially black actresses and black comedians are underpaid and undervalued, which I think she has like a perfectly fucking valid point. She also has been, people have also said that Monique has a bad attitude. I've seen people saying like, well, but she has a bad attitude. She has like a bad reputation. So that's why they don't want to give her money. Number one, I feel like it's a lot of people out there with a bad reputation. You know who has a bad fucking reputation? Taylor Swift. That has not affected this bitch's career, has it? Like, this bitch's last album was called Reputation, and it was all about her shitty fucking reputation, and people don't care, you know? Like, we talked about this during Bees Big. I was like, I feel like that's an unfair critique, because it's a lot of people that have like a shitty fucking reputation and continue to get work. I was like, Monique is who she is. Like, Monique obviously knows her worth. She knows her value. She's not gonna take shit off people. It's very easy for black women specifically that don't take shit off people to be labeled as troublemakers, to be labeled as a bitch, hostile, aggressive, you know, and now you have this reputation that fucking, you know, follows you around or whatever. But I respect that Monique is the person that she is. She has remained the person that she is for her entire career. And she's not trying to like, well, you know, she's not trying to like delete all of shit she said and done in the past. She's like, well, you know, this is who I am. Like, yes, things have maybe gone down a certain way in the past. I still see my value and my worth, and I still want my value and my worth. Like, and people gonna like say that she has a bad reputation and shit like that. That shit has like literally followed Monique for fucking years. You get what I'm saying? But meanwhile, we're supposed to like let it go that Kendrick Lamar said, cops gonna keep killing us as long as we don't respect ourselves. Never apologized, never acknowledged it, never addressed it. We're supposed to let it go that Pharrell essentially said that like racism doesn't exist. But now he's out here trying to like sell like racism human race sneakers. We supposed to like forget that Common said that like black people need to extend a hand in love to whites, and like white people don't need to do anything but like sit on their ass and like have their faces wiped by black daddy. Like, never was acknowledged, never was apologized like for that, like never was acknowledged. Like, they just get to like rebrand and like get all these fucking second chances, and it's just like, no. Like, and somebody else was like, well, how about these people don't owe you anything? I'm like, these are career artists, right? Be it rappers, musicians, actresses, actors, comedians, whatever. These are career artists, people that expect us to pay money for their product, right? Be it paying money to fucking buy an album. This nigga Donald Glover got a whole album, Awaken My Love, with like a black chick on the cover that's like biting the hell out of like fucking funk and shit like that, but has never addressed the way he used to talk so bad about fucking black women. But you want me to spend money to fucking buy your album. You want me to like spend money to watch your show on fucking FX. You want me to spend money to go see your movies, right? Common, you want me to spend money on your records and your movies, right? Pharrell, you want me to spend money on your fucking sneakers and shit like that, right? Kendrick Lamar, you want me to spend money to buy your fucking albums. Then yes, you do have a fucking responsibility to your consumers. And also, people don't ever have to fucking let that shit go or forget it if they don't fucking want to. Like, because people just be like, oh, just like, let it go. Like, I don't have to let it go. Like, I don't have to let it go. Men disrespect women all the time and are giving all these passes and second chances and abilities to fucking rebrand. And but we don't see that same courtesy in a lot of ways extended to black women. White women get chance after motherfucking chance. And it's just like funny to me how like people have kind of like stumbled across like rebranding. I'm not gonna apologize. I'm not gonna like publicly acknowledge what I said was wrong and that I've like grown and changed as a person, which would be like the awesome thing to do and would probably get you even more fans. What we do now instead is just like delete all of it and like pretend that it never happened. And I don't really think that that's like a good or healthy way to like deal with some of these issues. Like, and you can't just like keep rebranding yourself and like reinventing yourself like every few years to kind of like escape your past and escape your problems, especially because like again the internet never fucking forgets. And I just think it's like common decency and like common courtesy to like publicly acknowledge it. This is like sideways. I just realized this whole video was probably fucking sideways. So and I do want to say that like even aside from like celebrities, like content creators, and I do feel like it's a this is me personally, I do feel like it's a red flag if people are like consistently fucking rebranding and name changing and shit like that. It's like, what, number one, like what are you running from that you have to like constantly fucking rebrand all the time and like change your name all the time? And like what are you like that makes me think like, are you scamming people? Like what's going on there? And also people like using that as a way to like not have to be held accountable for their mistakes, instead of just saying like, you know, I have fucked up in the past, but I have also grown and learned from that. That's like I feel like that's just a great example for people to like see from public figures and content creators and celebs and stuff like that. So stop with the fake rebranding. Like, cut it out. Own up to your mistakes. Speak publicly on things that have happened in the past. Talk about learning and growing. That's healthy. That's healing. And I think it's important for people to see that out in public, especially from black creatives, rather than just keep like running away from it and trying to delete it and hide and shit like that. And also especially because like not everybody even has the opportunity to fucking do that type of thing, you know? So yeah, I don't know, a little car video on fake rebranding. Let me know what you guys think below in the comments. New month, happy March 1st. I will see you guys next time. Peace.